No COD points were spent in the making of this video. Hello and welcome to a video taking a look at some supply drop data. A little while ago I opened the 259 winter supply drops that I earned and was holding on to in the winter event. Yes, I did earn them all from the daily contracts and the orders and general playtime, as indicated in that little intro. This is a COD point free zone, although I have to say they have actually done a good job so far at being cosmetic only. The game has many issues, but non-cosmetic supply drops isn't one of them so far, which I want to be clear that I appreciate, because I'd hate for them to see lower sales numbers on the supply drops this year and then be like, well, I guess we have to go back to putting new weapons and variants in supply drops to sell more of them. But I really believe that good cosmetic crates are possible as a reasonable middle ground. I think they could have come up with some better cosmetics, like copy-pasting the same emotes with different messages, way too many pistol grips, and then the armory credit and XP filler is all pretty bad. I think with a larger focus on weapon-related customization, maybe even cosmetic score streak customization, I don't know why that's never happened. There's very minimal character customization in this game too. You could have some face paints like Black Ops 1. It's easy to come up with more ideas for things that don't affect gameplay like that. Anyway, that aside, I thought it'd be fun to break down the results of all those winter drops. This is not a supply drop opening video because it's 2018 and I just don't think that's good content. However, it seems like many people did want to get that second-hand gambling fix. If you do want to watch me open all the drops and go over the loot, and also see me get screwed over by the event ending early and not being able to complete the collections, there is a link in the description to an unlisted video where I do all of that. I figured I may as well leave my mic on while opening them, but don't expect that to be an exceptionally entertaining video. It's very long, and some of the parts in the middle have no commentary, so I just left some timestamps to skip around to where things are actually happening. It's just there if you want to check it out, because it seemed like a good idea to post the raw footage that backs up the data to prove I didn't just make it up. I doubt anybody is insane enough to want to manually add it up themselves. I may have made a couple mistakes here and there, plus or minus one or two on the numbers, but overall I think I did a pretty accurate job with the data entry here. So first of all, I'd like to clarify what this video is aiming to accomplish. What questions does it aim to answer? All these numbers can be fun to look at, but it maybe isn't that useful for reasons I will explain later. However, it did give us some interesting insights which I can use to tell the story of supply drop odds over time and how they've changed in different updates. You may think, well, isn't it a little late to analyze winter supply drop odds? That event is long gone. You can't earn those drops anymore, so who cares? We've got that resistance event coming up now, only 3 days away. Well, getting sick did delay this more than I wanted, but either way, I would have been making this after the event, and that doesn't matter. It's not like knowing the odds would have helped you open them better. This doesn't help you improve at the game. It's just a point of curiosity and can be fun to figure out. The best supply drop data I remember seeing so far was a while ago when Drifter did some analysis taking a look at the odds way back then, and that was also what pushed Condry to confirm on Twitter that social score does not affect supply drop odds. That was a misconception back then because of some misleading wording in a Game Informer article, so that was good to know. However, supply drop loot has changed quite a bit since that data was collected. The first change was before Winter Siege even happened. There was a big update where much more loot was added into the general loot pool. I forget how many pistol grips there were at launch, but it was somewhere around 50, I think, and after the update that number suddenly jumped to 153, and at the same time another new category of loot started appearing in supply drops as a crappy filler item, being armory credits, like the common one where you get 10 and the rare one that gives you 30 credits. You didn't used to be able to get those at launch, and those are insultingly low amounts. It's basically just a dud of an item. It would have been cool if they multiplied those numbers by 25, maybe, or if there was a heroic armory credits drop that gave you like 50,000, but this 10 and 30 stuff is completely insignificant compared to the other ways you earn credits in this game, even lower than getting a duplicate. It's the worst thing you can get, aside from division and weapon XP for somebody who's already maxed out. Also dumb. Anyway, that update happened and added all that filler, so I was wondering if the odds of getting heroic weapons, aka the things people care about, went down after that update. That would be good to find out. And then Winter Siege came, along with the Winter Siege loot pool, kept separate from the regular stuff, and that brought a couple new things as well. Instead of only getting uniforms, you could also get special headgear, so I changed that category to just be called clothing, and instead of only getting calling cards, you could also get winter emblems. Hooray for devaluing those cool photorealistic emblems people make in the editor. Now you don't know if they made it or not. So, there were a few things I wanted to find out after all those changes to supply drops over time. I guess now would be a good time to explain all this data. What's going on here? Well, I tracked 256 winter supply drops. Gotta love that nice base 2 number. Although I opened a few more than that after the event had ended, which I didn't include here. I also did not include the bribes in this data, of course, because they function differently with the duplicate protection. Every winter supply drop guaranteed 1 winter item and 2 other items from the regular loot pool, so I split those things up and I recorded the rarity tiers of the item and also the item type. Of course, there were no armory credits or XP bonuses in the winter loot pool. Those things only apply to the regular items. First, for the winter stuff, you can see here the rarity breakdown looks pretty expected, with commons being up at 58%, rares at 27%, and so on, down to heroics being very rare at under 1%. Not the best sample size, only 256 winter items, but you get the picture. There were not many heroic winter items to get. I only got 2, an outfit and a calling card. And looking at the loot breakdown, by far the calling cards and emblems were the most common thing to get. There were just tons of them. I guess I could have made them 2 separate categories for this not to look so lopsided, but they were nearly 2/3 of the winter items. Then the pistol grips, the clothing, the emotes, and then finally the weapons. My god, incredibly hard to get because there just weren't very many of them. Only a couple epics and heroics for the 5 weapons added in that update. Also though, keep in mind the small sample size again. I'm sure I was somewhat unlucky only getting 1 winter weapon, not even a heroic, it was the epic Sten Royal Skull. If I got luckier with 2 or 3 weapons, this would look a bit different, but either way, winter weapons were certainly hard to get. Now looking at the regular items, meaning the other 2 things you get in each winter drop, things look very different. Also, these got split in half. These are the first 130 drops and then the next 126 drops. And that was not planned. I'll explain why that happened in a moment. For now, I'm only looking at the first 130 drops, meaning 260 regular items. You can see quite a large change in the item rarity. Heroics, epics, and legendaries all seem much more obtainable compared to the winter stuff, and suddenly rares at 40% are more common than commons at 30%. Now, my guess at the reasoning for that is because winter supply drops are basically rare supply drops that also guarantee a winter item, and rare supply drops, I believe, do not give you explicitly better odds than regular supply drops. It seems like that's what most people assume, but I think that all they do is guarantee 1 item is rare or better, which does mean better odds overall because you essentially eliminate 1 chance at a common, but not in the way that some people think. Just like how an epic supply drop, we know, guarantees that 1 item is epic or better. It makes sense that a rare supply drop would do the same thing for rares. So I think that's why we see rares being more common than commons like that. If 1 item is guaranteed to be rare out of the 2 items in every drop, that certainly would explain it. Or I could be wrong. I'd like to look into that theory more when I open the common and rare drops to compare those after the next update, but that should be more interesting. Also taking a look at the loot breakdown for the regular items, pistol grips, go figure, are the most common thing at 31%. There are no emblems, so this is just calling cards around 25%. Then XP bonuses, something that did not exist in the winter loot pool. Then emotes and clothing, and of course weapon variants being the most coveted item, but much more obtainable than the winter weapons because there are a lot more of them relative to the other filler junk. I guess I can quickly compare this data to what Drifter had back in the early supply drop loot pool at launch. The rarity looks fairly similar, with the heroics, the thing that matters, still being around 2%, although the rares and commons have nearly swapped places, but that's probably because of the winter drops and the reasons I explained. And with the item type, all very similar looking, some variants with the grips versus calling cards, and I got 5% fewer emotes, but all that could be caused by many factors, with these being winter drops, so hard to draw a good conclusion there. I'll bring up the comparison again when I'm actually opening rare supply drops next time. The bottom line is that it seems the odds of getting heroics and getting weapons has not been affected much despite the addition of more bad loot, which is very good news. Finally, I need to explain why I split the opening in half here for the regular loot. Well, that's because in the middle of opening these things, at 9:22 AM Pacific time, this came up on the screen telling me to update the game. Turns out even though they said the event would end at 10 AM Pacific time, which I trusted and planned around, they actually ended it 40 minutes early. So if you were going to complete some collections last minute, too bad for you. More on that later. Anyway, after restarting the game, I figured I would track the regular items after the update separately in case something changed. Well, it turns out I think I was onto something. Overall, if you look at the odds here, it's all very similar. Nothing is significantly different. So I guess that's a little testament to the sample size being decent, I hope. Just got a little luckier with an extra heroic and a couple epics. The loot types are also very similar in percentages, except armory credits started showing up near the end of the opening. It seemed like the regular supply drop loot pool did in fact change for the winter update, removing the armory credits, and then it changed back. but I don't think it changed back when I updated the game and restarted. I think it changed somewhere near the end of the opening, like around 9:45. The first time I got armory credits in a drop was when I only had 28 supply drops left, then it happened again when I was at 7 drops to go. There's no way I went over 230 drops in a row without getting any armory credit drops just because I was lucky, and then it started happening at the end. I know they show up much more commonly than that. Watching other people open stuff in the headquarters, I see them all the time. Also, when I later opened 3 more winter drops that I did not include in the data, because I earned them from leftover orders a few days after the event ended, I got armory credits in there too. And to prove without a doubt that the main supply drop loot pool was changed around when the event ended, you can see I got 2 winter items in 1 drop there. That's because, as I'm sure you've noticed yourself after the event, winter items started appearing in the regular supply drop loot pool, so you could open up a rare supply drop and get 3 winter items. So that change kind of messed with my data collection here at the end, because I don't know at what point the regular loot pool was changed in that opening. I didn't see any double winter drops or any armory credits until nearing the very end. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. What we do know is that we are now in Generation 4 of the supply drop loot. Armory credits have been re-added, sadly, and winter items are in the normal circulation. Who knows if they'll eventually disappear for good, like maybe with the event in a few days, or maybe they'll be gone temporarily and come back again after the event. Can't say for sure. So that's my understanding of what's going on with supply drop loot these days. This data isn't the most helpful thing because it's kinda confusing. I'm much more interested in seeing the commons versus rares after we hit Gen 5 of supply drop loot. If you're curious, I did track a few other metrics here. Like after all that, I ended up with 4 hours of 25% soldier XP, so basically 1 hour of double XP, kinda lame. 4 hours and 20 minutes of weapon XP, completely useless because I maxed out nearly all the weapons while going for chrome, and 3 hours and 15 minutes of division XP, which is 100% useless because I've had all the divisions maxed since the first couple weeks of the game, so yay, thanks. With the new division coming out, I'll make sure to only use it during double division XP events so that I can participate. I got 15.2 thousand armory credits from duplicates, and I guess 60 was from getting the actual item, and I listed out the heroics for fun. These were the 2 winter heroics, just that dang cold-blooded card and a mountain outfit. At least I got a few good guns from the regular drops, like the Frontline 2, which is very nice looking. That's my new HQ show-off weapon because it looks cool. I only got 6 different heroic weapons though, because I got the bazooka 3 times, although I guess I did get the menace and point blank. Don't know what I'll do with those. And finally the winter bribes, which weren't in the data, but I tracked the heroics just because. Practically all of them were outfits. The only weapon was the trench knife teeth grinder, which looks good, but that was a pretty sad result overall. Speaking of a sad result, yeah, coming back to that thing about the event ending early, I never got to unlock any of the winter collections because they ended it 40 minutes before 10 AM. Like, what the hell's with that? I'm gonna repeat some of the stuff I said in the unlisted opening video, because I'd like to complain in the main video too, now that we're nearing the end. I know I may not get much sympathy, because I'm sure most people unlocked the collections as they played, like normal people, but that doesn't make it okay for them to state a time, 10 AM Pacific, tell people that they have to unlock the collections before that time, or else they'll go away, and then end it 40 minutes early. The night before, I was up till 5 AM finishing the order for 2 more bribes, and I actually thought to myself, maybe I should open these now, just to be safe. Nah, too tired, so I set 2 alarms, went to sleep for 3 hours, and woke up early to get everything organized. Timed it perfectly, only for them to pull that nonsense. That's a pretty big fail. 40 minutes. That's not like 2 minutes early. And I saw some complaints. I know it affected more people than just me, even people who played normally and didn't save up drops like a crazy person. Let's say you had a couple more items to unlock to complete every collection, and maybe that's important to you, so you say, you know what, it's 9 AM, 1 hour left, I'm out of time to earn these things. I'm gonna buy some CoD points to get a few more supply drops. So you start opening them, and then bam, get smacked with an update that locks you out. Get named, dumbass. Like, come on, that's not right. And there wasn't any outrage over it. There's outrage over the dumbest things, but not many people had a problem with that. I don't know, I think it's important that they stand by the posted time. I eventually realized, though, after getting over the initial assault, maybe it was a blessing in disguise that I didn't feel the need to waste armory credits unlocking the last few items I needed. Now I don't feel like I have to obsessively complete every event collection. I'll just unlock what I actually want. I didn't love the look of the winter variants, and they are only epic, not heroic, so the rare base variants give the exact same 10% bonus XP, so no loss there, really no big deal. If they were heroics, I would be more salty. Well, that's that then. Next time, remember to unlock collections a couple days before the event ends, if you want to be sure. Well then, what did we learn here? We looked over some data. Maybe you now know more about the loot pool that we have right now. How could I wrap all that up? In conclusion, Don't buy COD points. Of course, I can't tell you how to spend your money, that's up to you, but hopefully you've seen enough to make you not all that interested in gambling away your hard-earned cash. Like seriously, that was what I got from 256 winter supply drops. That's like $400 to $500 worth. I'd sell all that junk for $10. Which would you rather have, the $500 or the loot that you saw? Like if you have money lying around, go buy some Bitcoin or something, jeez. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this look into supply drop data. If this was super dry and not interesting at all, then maybe I don't need to take a look at the commons versus rares, but I probably will anyway, because I'm interested in learning more about that. That's all for now, though. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.